All right. We are live. Super excited for this one. I'm here with Paul Sargysan. Did I say that right? Close enough?
Yes. No, that was good. That was good.
Yeah, that was good, right? You're Armenian, correct?
I am Armenian. I'm from
Ah,
Armenia. Yes. I've been here for like 20 years already, though.
oh, nice. You must know Levon then, who's a local Region 6 guy who I'm
Of course. Of course.
very
He's
well.
one of my good friends. One
Yeah,
of my good friends.
Levon recently started actually coming to Champion Physical Therapy where we work out, and he's training now for golf. And his one of his junior league guys, Ian, is actually training with us as well. So I see him all the time now. We go way back.
Nice.
Small world, coming on from Zoom sessions to now he's actually training live with us.
That is awesome, though. That's great. How's Ian's doing? Okay?
Ian's good, man. I mean, we're gonna have a separate podcast with Ian down the road, but he's getting a large eye-opening experience of what the benefits of doing some little bit of weightlifting here and there. We got great strength coaches working with him, so he was sent our way after the Zoom sessions, and he's put on like 5 pounds of really healthy muscle. He's like, I feel amazing. Like my tumbling's better. I feel like $1,000,000. He's like, I can't believe I've never done this. He only comes once or twice per week. It's
Hmm.
nothing crazy. He's still training a lot, but he's loving it. So he loves it, and Levon loves it. Levon's playing golf, probably a little bit better now.
He's all about golf.
Yeah,
He's
no,
all about golf.
they're hardcore. But yes, so we were chatting before the podcast recording, and I'm always asking people like, who do you want to hear from? Who who do you think you respect a lot in the gymnastics world? And you'll be happy to know it was you and Tom Meadows. People want always more of you and Tom Meadows. They want to hear
Nice.
what your
I'm
secrets
glad to
are
know.
and what you know. And the men's gymnastics side is obviously craving for your information. So yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on. We met at the OTC a couple of years ago
Yeah.
with you being there with the
Hmm.
rest of your guys and Isaiah. So shout out Isaiah if you're listening. But yeah, I guess that's why we wanted to have you on. So how do you feel about all
Nice.
that?
Thank you. I feel great about that, man. I feel great, and I don't mind sharing whatever I have. So,
I feel like, yeah, you were saying no one's got secrets, right? No one's got secrets here. It's all,
uh, I don't really have secrets. Like I said, the secret is the hard work. To me, it is. It's the dedication. It's not going right away to make results. It's not jumping in right away to become popular. It's not right away to make champions, but it's actually have patience and just dedication, not to go to work just to make money. That's an
mm,
important one.
yeah.
I've been in the same gym since I started my coaching, and
Hmm.
and I think that's a very, very big factor. And I just stayed dedicated. The things that I learned from my own gymnasts actually. And throughout the years, I just keep learning. I guess that's the
Mm,
key. You can never sit and say you know everything, and just keep learning, even even more from your own gymnasts actually.
yeah.
So I feel like I've learned a lot from my boys.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that about being in the same gym for so long. I mean, how a lot of people would dream for that. They would dream to stay in one spot for so long. What
Mhm.
makes it somewhere that you want to stay and that you enjoy being at?
Well, I'm here with my friends and my partners,
Mm,
uh, and we just created a really beautiful atmosphere here. And we all had the same goal. We all had the same goal: just become successful gym. And I think that was the main reason. That
mm.
was the main reason. Like I said, I didn't. You would know, and all the coaches would know. Like the we don't really do this for the money.
No.
I mean, money is awesome, but if you're just trying to do coaching for money, you're not gonna get anywhere. So, so I think that would be one of the biggest things too.
Mm. Yeah. Were there certain things that you guys did early on? It sounds like you have like a really good alignment of your values and your mission, but are there things that you guys consciously had to do to build that environment, to kind of build that culture you guys enjoyed working at?
Yes, definitely. Well, on the boys' side, I tried to create a team and not individuals. That was my biggest thing. I always wanted to have a team, a good team. And when I say team, that's not just boys, that's the team of coaching, team of managers, the whole as a whole. So,
Mhm.
and it took some time for us to build it, but we did. And once that happened, we could see the results. We could see the positive results coming.
Mhm.
So we took our time to build that good, healthy team first. As a gym, we don't really have girls team, boys team, all this like the schedule's working just fine. We talk to each other, open communication, respect, and I think that's the main thing that kept me. And I believe that I could get far with my coaching in this gym.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's great. Did you guys just happen to stumble upon a great coaching staff early on that you guys enjoyed working with each other and stuff? Or were there some like kind of chess pieces you had to move around where somebody maybe wasn't, vibing with you guys or something like that?
That's the thing. We tried most of my coaches now, not most of them, all of my coaches are my former gymnasts,
Mm,
and so it's kind of great because the system stays the same,
yeah,
mentality and the culture, everything stays the same. They went on to their colleges, they graduated, competed collegiate gymnastics, and now they're back helping me, and and I think that was the main thing.
yeah.
Like they grew up certain way, they believed that it's working, and now they're just trying to help me to just get better, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. And don't sell yourself short. I mean, a good staff is only done by a good leader and someone who is a positive role model. And I'm sure you lead by positive example, and many of your other coaches do. If you guys aren't doing the things you want your athletes to show, then how in the world can you expect them
Oh,
to
of
act that
course, of course, we got to be the example
way? Mhm.
always.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and it's cool. It was awesome to see kind of the journey of you a little bit and Isaiah and stuff. And it sounds like, I mean, you guys believe in kind of like you have like a team captain, obviously, and you have that stuff. You guys believe in like the mentorship. Is that really important too? Because we used to run a
oh,
really
big
good like
time.
older younger sisters program kind of at our gym. How you guys have something like that set
We
up?
don't have anything official like that, but we have captain,
Mm,
and the captain is literally not just the best gymnast. We don't choose the captain based on their gymnastics. We choose the captain based on they got to have a leadership. The kids have to love them. They have to respect them, and not just someone that can do great gymnastics. So here you go, you're the captain.
yeah.
It's more like the human beings and how they treat the kids, and a lot of times when I'm having a hard time teaching some of my little ones something, I right away approach to my older boys. I'm like, I need your help, guys. Like help me out. You guys done this. We've done it together. Like something's not working. So and it works out just great that way. For the kids, it's something to listen the same thing from the coach, and then the older teammate says something, then right away it clicks,
Right.
and
Right.
so we use that a lot, but we don't have anything like official,
Yeah.
except just we have a team captain generation by generation, like they
Hmm.
off they go off to colleges, then we change the captain. But again, it is not based on their gymnastics.
Sure.
We had many great gymnasts that never could be a captain because they were just great gymnasts. They had good gymnastics, but they didn't have the leadership. They couldn't pull the guys behind them, like
Mhm.
with their great example for it.
Yep.
So, and Isaiah is definitely one of our best captains, though.
Yeah, I love that. I couldn't agree more that the human level things are more important than the gymnastics ability they
Oh,
have.
big time. That is probably I would say that is number one here in our gym before everything else. Like I said, my coaches are my former gymnasts, and if I couldn't build that, I don't think they would want to come back. So
Sure.
so
Yeah.
all my gymnasts are my friends now, and I just love that fact. And I always tell my boys that gymnastics will end one day, but I want to leave the life with them afterwards. And it's gymnastics is very small thing in this world, man. I want to have great gymnasts and bunch of champions, but like I always tell my boys, there's a big life. There's a big life after gymnastics, and we gotta be able to look at each other in the eyes, and talk. So
Mm.
that's
Oof,
the
yeah,
biggest thing.
that's so well said, and that definitely is weighing heavy on our current climate now. Is I always tell people that the metric of your success as a coach is not the scores, the money, the medal, whatever. It's who comes to back and visits your gym on holiday break, or
Of
who comes
course.
after and works for your gym when you're there. Like those are some of my favorite moments where I know, like, man, we've been through a long road, but I'm successful if they want to come back, they want to teach, they want to just stop by and say
Of
hello. It's like
course.
that's really important.
Yeah, gymnastics is great, and like I said, being champion is a great thing, great feeling. But uh, we all know, professionals do know that the sport cannot be for everybody, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean they should not do gymnastics. They can learn so much more from gymnastics except just gymnastics itself. So,
Mm.
and and of course, some of them are catching on to gymnastics and they just being successful and good for them. But majority of the team, they will not reach to the elite level, but they still I want them to say that I love gymnastics and not 1 second was a waste. So if I
Right.
can hear that from my gymnast, then I believe I did my job.
Yeah, That's amazing. That's really cool to hear. Are there things that you guys do from the staff development side to kind of ensure that high, not expectation, or just like the high moral standard that you guys have? Are you guys doing things actively to work on that?
We do have we have, like I said, very open relationship with the coaching staff. We talk a lot.
Yep.
We talk a lot about starting from the simple skill all the way to the highest skill. We make sure that we are on the same page. We make sure that we're teaching the things same way.
Mm,
And so from compulsories, when kids are coming up to optionals, I don't have to do a lot of changing, you know. I'm having a lot of hard time when some kids are coming from other gyms, and I'm not saying they have bad basics or good basics, but they have very different ones.
yep.
And and as a coach, my first job is to undo some of these things with these kids. And that is the toughest thing in
Mm,
coaching. When you get something that you're not familiar with, then you have to kind of undo it, make it your way in order to build high level gymnastics and be successful. So we just try to talk a lot after before trainings and just make sure that we're all on the same page before we move on and start coaching the kids.
yeah, I love this. This was a question that somebody submitted later, but I think I have it now. It fits. Is that's a really hard process. Is sometimes having to convince someone to take maybe 3 steps back and undo like a basic handstand position or a basic pommel swing. How do you approach that conversation with a younger gymnast who maybe doesn't understand the long term goal and why it's so important?
That's so again, the most of that problem usually comes when you know, some gymnasts are deciding to move from other gyms to us. And by the way, I'm okay with that whole moving, you know.
Mhm.
It's okay, and I had gymnasts that moved from me. But
Yeah.
when and this problem especially comes up when there's a case like that, some gymnasts come from other gym. We do a meeting. We have a tryouts about 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and the tryouts is not only we're not only testing their skill level, we're testing everything. We're making sure that we can work with these kids, and we're making sure that that kid and the family can work with us.
Sure.
And with that said, it's there's nothing hard. We're just simply respect, uh, hard working skills, dedication, and they need to know that this place is to work hard. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? We have different programs. Like within my boys program, I have different programs for each kid. You know,
Yeah.
I have a lead program, I have JO program. We have kids that want to do gymnastics, but you know, their age is a little on the older side, and that's completely okay too. We just make sure that every program is well balanced, and
Mm,
they do whatever uh, uh, fits for those kids. And
right.
there is, like, it has nothing to do with good kid, bad kid. It's just simply ability and hardworking skills, and we have to make sure that they fit in the right programs.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
And
you just
and
summarized.
we do have uh, pretty we're pretty open with our parents as well.
Mm,
Like like before I start with any gymnast, I'm gonna have a meeting with the parent, with the kid, make sure that they understand what I'm doing.
mm,
And for example, if you see some of my private lessons, you know, if you don't really know gymnastics, and you're gonna see, okay, this guy's pretty boring, you know,
yeah.
like we're doing private lessons instead of him just jumping and teaching my kid a touch of what is he doing. But
Right.
but I don't have that problem with parents because I tell them why I do these things and how important it is. For me to build a hard gymnastics, I need to have a really tough foundation, good foundation, or else, you know, sooner or later it's going to collapse. So
Mm.
that's why I have to undo it. I have to make sure everything's there for me to start building. And that's the safest way to do gymnastics as well.
Yeah, it sounds like summarizing for me is like communication is almost like mandatory at your gym between the coaches, between the parents, between the kids, not being afraid of those, not tougher conversations, but the needed conversations. Then the biggest thing is like, is this a good fit? And I think I raised the same thing is like, we've had kids who have just not really fit well with our program and they move elsewhere. We've had kids that didn't fit at that program. They come to us. It's totally fine. And within our programs, what fits? What are your goals? What do you want to do? What's good for you to be
Hmm.
safe and healthy in gymnastics?
Exactly.
And finding that fit is not a bad thing. It's not like you're a bad gymnast, you're not a good
Not
person.
at all.
I just want you to have fun.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, you know, in some point, I think coaches have to build that partnership with their gymnasts. And I'm talking about the high level gymnastics. Like you
Hmm.
literally have to be like business partners with your athletes. Both sides need to do their own parts,
Hmm.
and they have to be agree on everything. They have to be on the same page. They have to have mutual respect, just like business partners. Like because partners' goal is to make that business successful. That's the same thing with coaching and the coaches and gymnasts. I feel like it's very important. Of course, it is. It's hard to do that with the younger kids, but when you're already seeing they're shooting towards elite, they're 15. I'm talking about boys, about 14, 15. Then you start building that that partnership,
Mm.
and once that happens, uh, that teaches them responsibility.
Right.
Because a lot of gymnasts think that coach can do everything, but coach cannot do everything. Coach can
Mhm.
only help. That's what coaches do. We just help. We don't do it for them. So, and that's why when there's a partnership, then there's no hard feelings. Then sometimes, like you say things, kids understand you just the way you're telling them
Yep.
instead of, oh, this is what he's saying or this and that, because, it is for the same goal. So I think building that partnership with kids, with your athletes is very important.
Yeah, and also like I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen you work with Miss and Isaiah and stuff. But it's also that you care about them as a holistic human, and regardless of best meet of their life, worst meet of their life, you're still the same with them in terms of treating them the same and being kind. It's not about this roller coaster based on their performance.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. This is theirs, Dave. To me, like, if you're becoming the champion, you are becoming a champion. Your coach is enjoying that whole thing, but you are the one that's becoming the champion. So, and if you don't, that's fine. Coach, like I tell my boys, I go when I'm having serious conversation with my boys about, trainings and stuff. I go, I'm a coach. I have 65 boys, and I'm very dedicated coach, and I know that somebody will be there. Like I can, but you just have you. If you really want to become good, it's just you. All you need to do is just be dedicated and just work hard. Take responsibility. Don't blame things. Don't blame friends or gym or this and that. It's you, buddy.
Hmm.
So and then we try to help them as much as we can. At the end of the day, they're gonna salute. They're gonna do the routines. They're gonna get the medals, and we're
Hmm.
just gonna be helping them and just enjoying their ride. So.
Mm. Yeah, that's very well said. And I guess kind of moving on to that is looking back on maybe some things as a younger coach. You were saying you're always learning from your gymnast, you're always learning more. What are some things that you made mistakes on early on, or that you still see other coaches making mistakes on?
Oof, that's a tough one. I did make a lot of mistakes. One of my biggest mistakes before, and I'm talking about 5, 10 years ago, was I wanted it right there. I wanted it right now.
Yep.
And sometimes coaches get this great potential gymnast, potential.
Yep.
But and then just like we're telling the gymnast that gymnastics is 50%, physical and 50% mental. Coaches, we need to understand too. And when I was young and I could see a kid with a great potential, but he couldn't do something, I'm like, yeah, but you have a potential, that would make me upset. But I didn't understand that it's just physical potential. The kid is mentally not ready for this. And I'm rushing and I would get frustrated and things would not be nice. And that's the biggest thing I've learned, that don't try to do it right now. Don't just plant your seeds and they will bloom on the
Hmm.
right time. But you have to plant them, you have to take care of them, you have to water them and have patience. And some of them may never bloom. That's okay too. But the ones that are, meant to bloom, they will, and they will become successful gymnasts. And you can't really force and make a gymnast at any cost, and that kind of stuff doesn't work. I learned it doesn't work. You just have to have patience.
Hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of the things, unfortunately, I see on the medical side or that I see on the consulting side is very young, talented athletes, and it's exciting, man. It's really exciting for a young coach to have someone who's gifted and doing well and works hard at a young age. But I think a lot of the times our role, especially with people kind of in the 9 to 12, 13 range, is protecting them from themselves because the sport is hard, man. The sport
Oh
is
yeah,
really hard.
you have to hold them back sometimes. You have to be a little more smarter than them sometimes. Those kids, they think they can do it. Like a little kid with very thin arms. They want to do Healy or Makuts on P bars, and they're looking good. But this is the thing, though. When Isaiah falls on a Healy, he might scrape a little here, a little there. He will be fine. When the little kid falls on Healy, he's breaking something. So
Exactly.
that's when you have to hold him back. That's when you have to be smart and yeah, let him do it. Don't have to compete today, man. He has a Healy, good for him. Let him compete when he can handle the fall of the big skill.
Mm,
That's the biggest thing. You have to be able to handle those falls. Kid can do a Kovac. If he catches, it's fine. If he falls, like I said, he will break in half. So you
yeah.
have to prepare them for those falls and make sure that if you're teaching this kid and he doesn't make the skill, he's going to be safe and he's not going to break in half and he's not going to quit and create this fear and all that. So I think coaches must pay attention on that and just not rush the kids, you know.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it kind of leads into a really good question is, obviously we all know that physical preparation and strength conditioning and drills and progressions are pretty much essential. It should be a huge part of what you're doing. But a lot of the questions that people asked me when I said I was going to talk to you is they were very curious to know about like, what are your practice schedules like? How much strength are you doing? Are there things like basics that you have to do every day you believe in? Like, what are the things that you feel prepare the athletes over 3 years, 4 years to kind of handle those big falls or those big skills?
The biggest thing I came up with and I thought it's working magics is the endurance routines on every event.
Mm,
Uh, just a basic, very basic routine with basic mount and basic dismount.
yep.
But they go through endurance.
Mm,
As you know, it's one thing to teach a skill, another thing to do the skill in the routine, then completely different story when you have to compete that skill in
yep.
your routine. So all that needs preparation and time.
Yep.
So I the biggest thing I do with my program is I came up with endurance routines on
Mm,
all 6 events
mm,
and they have to do it. So, for example, Monday, our schedule is only basics and only endurance routines and conditioning. I do not do skills. We do not push any skills. And Monday, I find that it was a good day to do that because it's a rough day for gymnastics after day off. It's a really good way of getting into a week. And
mhm.
and and I think that's the biggest thing, just endurance routines, not conditioning, of course, we do a lot of conditioning, a lot of specific conditioning for different events. But overall, to handle the big routine, we need the basic routines, endurance routines are very big
Mm.
thing in our team.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing maybe one event of an example of an endurance routine that you would do?
Like P bars, they have to do 5 front up rises, 5 swing hop handstand, no, 5 front up rises, 5 10 swing handstands with hops and 10 pirouettes and a dismount and one turn.
Perfect.
So
Yep.
they go through pretty much 25 uh, swing
Yep.
back and forwards.
And do you scale
Basic,
those?
I know
Like,
if they fall when they're tired, they're going to be fine. It's not like they're doing skill. They're going to fall off of a pirouette and it's fine. And with each fall, they will climb one extra rope, but so that makes them not fall. But that would be the basic just conditioning thing we do on P bars. And then
yeah.
with time getting closer to competition season, we would just add one skill in that endurance routine. Like they'll do stutz and then they'll do their endurance routine, or they'll do just a peach, or and then slowly we'll just get rid of the basics and build and just fill the routine with their actual skills.
Gotcha. And is that you start that what like do you start that with the younger boys all the way down just with more
Oh
basic?
yeah, we start that from younger. Yeah, we try to from level 6 and 7. We try to get things pretty
Got it.
similar to level 8 and 9 as far as basics goes.
Yep. And then obviously as they climb up the ladder into 9, 10 elite, you just make those skills a little harder.
And a little harder, maybe little weights on them and stuff like that.
Yep. Cool. Very good. I definitely think that's very helpful. In terms of the actual strength and conditioning side, are there like staple exercises that you guys do every day or prehab stuff you guys are doing on a regular basis, like other things of that nature?
Well, for my level 9s and 10s, we have 15 minutes individual needs that
Mm,
I just give them 15 minutes, but it's not, they don't do it on their own. Like I go around, they would do some therabands, they would do some press handstands, some handstand positions, body positions, and stuff like that. We'll definitely do that pretty much every day right after warm up.
mm. Yep. That
And
makes
then
sense.
I separated the rings conditioning day with just the overall physical condition. Like Monday and Tuesday, we just push hard with all the push ups and handstand push ups, ropes, and stuff. Then towards the end of the week, a little more gymnastics related conditionings.
Yep. Yeah,
So
that makes
we do a lot of conditioning. One of the things that the new guys are telling me the difference between my program and the program they came from is conditioning.
sense.
So
Yeah, and that's again, as how do you it definitely I agree and I think it's good, but a lot of people struggle to get the younger kids to be motivated and go through that grind. Are there things that you're doing, whether it's leading by positive example with the older guys like you were talking about? Like how do you kind of wrangle in? I mean, you got 65 kids. How do you how do you wrangle in all those kids to be
well,
motivated?
65 boys are not training at the same time.
Sure.
We have pretty good separation between our compulsory and the optional. That heavy stuff starts from like the end of level 7
Mm,
into level 8, 9, 10. But overall, they see what's happening in the gym. They're looking up to some of my level 10s, little guys. I send my older guys to this little guys to give corrections sometimes.
nice.
Sometimes when I'm working with little ones, I will say, Vahe, can you watch this? And then I'll have Vahe to come and give him some corrections and stuff.
Hmm.
And then, you know, they're role models. The older guys are, like I said, I'm very lucky with my older guys. I don't do much. I don't push anybody to condition. They do. We created this system that they all love conditioning, and you know, boys, they see their muscles grow. They like it, and you know, if anything, like they do it for that. That's for sure.
That's honest, man.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really important for people to. I mean, the best thing you said there is that you don't force conditioning. I can't tell you that was a
I
mistake I
don't
made.
think force gets results, though. That's the thing. Not just conditioning. Anything. If it's a force, like I said, partnerships. You don't force your partner to do something. Partner does his part and you do your part, and that's how you get successful. You don't force. If you force one, two, three, you need to part ways.
Mm,
You can't work together. There's no force. There's no reason to force. You know, when the kids are coming and saying this is what I want, and I'm saying this is what it takes. The people that do understand, they do it, and if they don't, I don't force. They just feel that they're not getting strong. That's about it. It's that simple. You know, I don't say I told you. I don't say this and that. They realize that. You know, they're kids. They're smart. Kids are smart. They can cheat. They're so smart. They can cheat. They can make it look like they're doing it. But at the end of the day, they see that they're staying behind, you know? And I
mm.
don't really need to go and say, you see, you're behind because of this and that. They see it. They can tell. They're smarter than us sometimes. So
Yeah, and that's
no
a
force. I'm super against force. Everything force. It's not going to work. At the end of the day, you're going to end up with kids that are hating you. That's what you're going to get. So force is not a good thing, man.
I couldn't agree more. And also, there's a couple layers to it. One is that you're not, it's not their journey and it's not their responsibility anymore. They're living up to you. But also at the same time, like you just said, I'm so happy you said that. You just build resentment. You just build bitterness. Like in the short term, yeah, yelling at someone or forcing someone to do a skill, or the biggest pet peeve of mine is like, oh, I'll spot you, then pulling your hand out and being like, oops, you did it. Like that's not building trust. That's just causing friction. And down the road, that's going to all come out some way, shape, or form.
I think that the hardest thing is to make them understand why they're doing all this.
Mm,
Once they understand, they will do it. And some of them probably will understand, but wouldn't want to do it because they just can't. Some kids can't handle it. And that's okay. They're not meant to be a gymnast. That's totally fine.
mm,
And that's why you have different programs in your program, and you don't mix everybody in the same place. You can't do that, you know.
yep.
And and you're being super transparent with the parents, and that way you have less problems.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really happy you said that about different programs. I think that was something that was a big eye opener for us, is realizing that it's okay if people want to do different things. They want to play another sport and also do gymnastics. They want to be recreational. Like that's totally fine. The problem is when it becomes this like one group is better than the other. Like I think as a coach, you really have to make sure you squash that. If some of the guys start saying things like, "Oh, I can't believe this guy's in this group," or "He's not good enough," like you have to really stomp that out because I think it's very toxic to your gym culture.
Exactly. That's why I told you number one thing is like the human sides, you know. Just because this kid is in a different group, it does not make him any less than you. Maybe a little less stronger gymnast than you, but you never know what kind of a life he's gonna have later on. He's gonna maybe be very more successful than you are.
Mm,
You're not gonna know that. That's why that, like I said, this is not for everybody. The parents have to understand that too, though. You know,
mm,
sometimes you're talking to a parent, you're saying, literally your kid is not like he can't survive here. It's tough, like military. Not everybody can go and become a Navy SEAL, man. I couldn't do it. Are you
Yep.
kidding me? I'll die there. There's no way. So I chose not to. That doesn't make me like, oh, I'm not a tough guy or whatever it is. I just can't do that. That's not for me. So same thing. You have to be very careful and make the parents understand why you're making these decisions when you're sometimes switching some kids groups. That's not punishment, that's a
Right.
help. So you have to explain them that well. Once they
Mm,
understand, they will understand you're helping them, you're not punishing them. And if you make it like it's a punishment, that's not a right thing. You should not say, oh, you don't do this, you're going to go down to that group. That means you are making that group look bad already. That's one. And second, you're punishing the kid. So you're threatening the kid. That's not the case whatsoever. You just say that that's a help, like you can't keep up with these guys. Why don't you get stronger there? And I do have a bridge between my programs. I had a bunch of guys that so I had a level 7 kid that won every competition we went to when he was level 7, and then he decided to quit. For 2 years he did boxing, and then he called me. He's like, coach, I missed gymnastics. I go, well, come back, buddy. But then I had to sit down with him and say, look, you were in my elite program, but you cannot be right now. We have a program specially for, guys like you, a little on the older age and still want to do gymnastics. You're welcome, no problem. So he worked his way up all the way to my back to my elite group now, and that's fine. And
mm,
he worked very hard. He showed me the skills. He showed me that he wants to be a gymnast, so he's back to my elite program. But he started after he went for boxing, he came back, he started with the other program. I wasn't even coaching him. And then, he proved that he wants to be a gymnast. So I have no problem with that.
mm. Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on maybe your years and observing other coaches, and it's a little bit of a Pandora's box, but what do you think causes some coaches to kind of dance along that not great line of kind of, I don't know, like looking down on the kid when they move into a group or punishing them for stuff like that? I don't know. What do you think are the root causes of that? Because I think it's a minority, thankfully, in our curriculum and our coaching. But I think a lot of people are frustrated because they see other coaches at meets or they see out in the community, they see some kids or some coaches that are acting really inappropriately towards some of the other kids. What do you think causes some of that?
It's the self. Those are the coaches that wants to make gymnasts for them to become a better coach, popular
Mm,
coach, I would
yeah.
say.
Yep.
I only see problems like that with those kind of coaches that they're trying to use their gymnasts no matter what. You have to do this Yurchenko at this meet because that's what everybody's doing,
Mm,
because that's going to make them feel good as a coach.
mm,
So I'm not with that type of coaching techniques. I'm not with them whatsoever on that. And like I said, you cannot compare kids. You can't. Every kid has a different ability. You just have to work with them differently.
yep. Yeah.
So
Very well
so
said.
punishing the kid, sending, like for example, when we do circles, once a week we have max out circles on pommel horse,
Mhm.
and we have a set number for each level. I came up whatever I thought is fair and whatever is good, like as far as progression goes. And if they do less, they have to climb rope. But again, I made sure that they understand that is not because I'm punishing them for not doing it.
Mhm.
That simply means if you can't reach there, you need to probably condition a little more and get stronger. And if they understand that's why they're climbing the rope, then I think we did our job. And
Mm,
not like, I'm so mad at you because you were supposed to do 50 circles, you did 48. Why don't you go climb rope? Like you were bad. That's not that mentality whatsoever. So every move you do, the right coach needs to make all the moves to help the gymnast, not to make him or her feel better.
mm.
So, so
Yep.
you don't punish kids.
I would
Punishing kids is not a good thing.
I couldn't agree more. I think that should be the
Well, the
title.
only thing I guess I get super upset with my kids when there is an attitude problem, when there's
Totally.
disrespect, when there is bullying, when there is that kind of stuff, that I don't tolerate that stuff. But
Mm,
as far as gymnastics, if they get up and do something, then they fall, even though I know they shouldn't have fall or they were more ready than that. That's fine. They fell. That's why we train. We train so we fall so many times that we can hit on the right time.
mm,
And and that's totally fine. I don't ever get upset with any of my kids for not making the skills.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's great. That was one of the questions that somebody asked. I mean, you and I know, being men, but like young boys are a little chaotic sometimes. They tend to bully a little bit. They tend to kind of be disrespectful to each other or their coaches. How do you guys handle that in a safe and appropriate way? That's
like I said, you won't believe it, but we spent a little more time in the beginning on a discipline than gymnastics itself.
mm,
If you're really looking at level 4 gymnastics, there's not much there. You literally can pick a talented kid from a park and make him compete level 4 right away. So it's not a big deal. What you need to teach is the discipline, the respect, the rules, the I don't know, like you go to the judo place, everybody must take their shoes off, everybody must bow before they step on it. And that's fine. I respect that so much. That's the culture in that sport, and it's okay. And so if you want to be a judo guy, then you have to like those things. Or
mm,
it comes down to the simple thing wearing shorts here. Like all my boys are wearing gymnastic shorts, and I keep telling them like, don't be ashamed of that because this is the sport that you're doing. It's not funny to wear gymnastic shorts when you're doing floor. It's not funny at all because that's your sport. It would be funny if you put the shorts on and go play basketball at the park. Yeah, man, be embarrassed. That's funny. But in this sport, try to respect starting from that, starting from our jerseys and shorts and pants. If this is the sport you chose, you knew that's the stuff you have to do. Then it shouldn't be any problems. So with our younger boys, we spend a lot of time on that, on discipline and just teaching them patience, waiting, and good teammates, good like all this. So we're trying to build a team. Like I
mm.
said, one of my biggest goals were building a team. I was never after an individual. I'm always after having a great team because I know if I can create a great team, I'm going to create a lot of great individuals in there. So I
Mm.
think team mentality is big. So
Yeah.
we try, and again, not working with everybody, but with most of them it does work.
Mm.
And if some parents or some kids, like we're having disagreements, that is totally fine to part ways and find something that it fits them.
Yeah, I'm really happy you said that. That's a mistake that I made as a younger coach, and I see a lot of other coaches making, and I work on the women's side, but I see it a lot is in those younger years being too hyper focused on perfect flexibility and perfect skills and perfect drills. And yes, those things are important, but at the same time, if you don't develop the human for respect, being a good teammate, trust, communication, like, just being kind of the soft skills of being on a team, I think that people invest too much time in the gymnastic side when those kids are really young and they forget how important that foundation of one, it's a life lesson, right? But two is that if you do those things well and develop a really good human, you're going to get someone down the road who's really able to tolerate those things because they're self-motivated, but they're just a good person.
Of course, just a simple example, if you tell a kid something and the kid hates you and he doesn't like you and he doesn't respect you, he probably will not do what you're asking him to do. It's just it's that simple to me. But if I'm telling a kid something and he's doing it, it's not because he's afraid of me or you know what, little guys can say I'm scared of Coach Paul and stuff. But trust me, slowly that turns into I respect Coach Paul. I love Coach Paul because they're little. They don't a lot of times they don't understand. And
Mm.
that's why I said when you're building that partnership with your gymnast, it cannot be when they're young, especially with boys. Once they start understanding, then you're gonna be fine with them. But but yeah, if the kid doesn't like you, he's not gonna do it. He's not gonna do it. He's not gonna do what you ask him to do because he just simply doesn't like you. Just like some teachers and professors in the schools, like when I didn't like somebody, I didn't do what they said. I just didn't care. Everything they said, I thought they're saying it wrong. I didn't believe them because I simply didn't like them. They were mean or whatever.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely one reason I wanted to get you on. And something that I picked up really early on when meeting you at the OTC is I really respect you and especially Tom for being able to produce elite high level athletes at a world stage where you're not forcing kids to do things. It's not fear based. And I think a lot of coaches, especially as they, in my opinion, as they cross the threshold from a really good high level optional coach to an elite level coach or consistently, is they feel as though that really hard fear based do what I told you coaching is necessary to get the maximal potential out of their athletes. And I think that's wrong. I really do. I think that's wrong. And I think too many people are doing that under the false impression that's the only way. But you and Tom and some other people are shining examples of how you can get to high level without sacrificing someone's emotional or mental health.
Of course, of course. Like I said, at the end of the day, I want my gymnasts to always come back to me and always look at me in the eyes and have fun. I want them to invite me on their weddings and stuff. I want to do this kind of stuff with my gymnasts, you know. I mean, how short is gymnastics, especially on the men's and women's side too? It's just so short. It's like the beginning of your life and then that's it. But you create these memories for the rest of your life. You don't want to remember your coach as like, oh, he made you do it. You didn't want to do it, but he actually, you know, made you. And sometimes that pushing you like you do as a coach, but again, you do it only when they understand. If you just try to motivate them and push them to do something a little extra, but they're completely against it, they don't want it. It could be anything. It could be either injury or fear or anything. If you push and force through that, I don't think you're going to get the right results. You might get the right results that day only, for that one skill that you really wanted her or him to do it. You actually might get that day. Okay, and then what? That was just that one day. The rest is garbage. It's not going to work.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I think that, like I said, I think people are stuck in that mentality. They have to be that way. But I always try to, I started thinking about this more as I had a very big ego when I was a younger coach, and I was doing exactly what you were saying. I was trying to get this vault to flip. I was trying to get this new double full, whatever it is. And
I think we all did.
yeah, for everyone goes through it, right? My buddy Nick Ruddick is famously said, right? Like he had that when he was younger too, when he was working at the international stage. But I always try to think now about like, okay, in 5 weeks, in 5 years, am I going to be happy with the decision that I make right now? Right? If this kid flips this vault and breaks their ankle, am I going to look back in 5 weeks and be like, that was a good decision? You know what I mean? Or in 5 years, when their kids don't come back, am I going to be happy with myself as a coach? Regret is very, very painful for those that don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially with elite gymnasts, you actually have to do the opposite. You have to, like I said, hold them back a little bit sometimes. You know, like sometimes they're a competition. You see they're limping a little. How you doing, buddy? Oh, I'm okay. But you can see he's not okay. You know, like you can see he's not okay. And that meet, is it worth for him to go for it or no? Like I think I was with Isaiah. We were one of our international competitions. His 2.5 vault was brand new. So he vaulted, he did his warm up, he landed a little short, his foot wiggled a little bit, and that freaked me out right away. So I go there, I'm like, Zay, are you all right? He's like, yeah. I go, are you sure you want to do this? He's like, oh yeah, I got it. But it's like brand new. He literally landed first one at a competition warm up. So so it was like, and I'm excited too. But and then, I went back and forward, back and forward. I go, Isaiah, we're not doing it, bro. Sorry. We're just not doing it. I mean, it's okay if we don't win. And we actually end up losing by 2 tenths. But
Mm.
and that was a big 4-10 vote for him, but I feel good now in here. I don't know what would happen if I was excited like him, because he was super pumped, excited. He wanted to do it. I got this. And I don't know. I decided not to. And it probably would be fine if I said yes, but you don't know. When you feel something, you feel something. It's better be safe than sorry.
Man, that is one of the most important things that has ever come out of the podcast is you being on a super high level stage and making a decision that was in the best interest of their health. I think so many people get wrapped up in, this is our moment. This is a big meet. This is everyone's looking. This is our time to shine. And I don't know, it sounds like, from my opinion, that you're very secure with yourself as a coach, and you know what the long-term end result is going to be, whether that's competition or just, not letting him get hurt. I think people really have to spend some time thinking about those things and thinking about their values and what the long-term goal is, to have the courage to make those decisions. And I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people against that decision you made, like, no, you should have gone for it. Or,
Oh, of course, of course. I already shared some with some coaches, and they're like, "Oh, that was a think decision, like he had it." I'm like, "Okay, man, I feel good." You know what I mean? It would be great. The gold medal is always the shiniest, but are you kidding me, man? I'm okay with my decision. I don't. We didn't lose much, let me tell you. That's
yep.
okay.
And I'm sure
I
that there
still
were
have him healthy, so
that's what I
that's
was
the
gonna
biggest result I can get.
you took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, he's lived to see another day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of covered the compulsory side of, developing good humans. You get your basics, your strength, your long endurance complexes. There's so many more things that we could talk about on the compulsory level. It's much more about respect and discipline. But I think again, on the high level optional side, on the college gymnastics side, and on the elite side, are there things that you feel are necessary or essential for those athletes to really reach that caliber? Because you've had consistently guys that are reaching that level well in high level optionals and stuff. Are there things that you really swear by that help you produce that, or is it more just you give really good basics when you're young and all that?
I I talk to my boys a lot. We do team meetings a lot. A
Mm,
lot, just right there, nothing special, just right there at the end of hard conditioning when they need a second to breathe, I start talking. And I talk about why they are so tired now, how it's all worth it stuff. I try to, I don't know, talk to them and and just slowly, I don't know, we talk a lot. We make a lot of decisions together, you
mm,
know, and and just like I said, you got to be patient. You got to be patient and just the champions will shine. Those people that are meant to be, they will be.
mm.
So there is you just gotta not stand in front of them. You just gotta let them do it, and just sometimes, like I said, hold them back and just say, calm down, there's tomorrow.
Mhm. Yeah, and it sounds like you were saying earlier that you've learned a lot from your gymnast, and obviously you didn't walk into the sport with all this knowledge of high level skills, stuff like that. What are the things you've learned from the gymnast, or like where did you learn a lot of these high level technical skills, or like the actual?
Lots of I use lots of my own gymnastics in my coaching, and I use a lots of mistakes that I've made as a gymnast.
Mm,
Um, like a lot of skills I worked on a skill as a whole without breaking it down and stuff. And I
mm,
learned that a lot of things you have to break down a lot, and you have to start from a very, very young age, those skills. Like, for
mm,
example, Kovac, you can start. To me, that type of skill is like 3 year development. Like, you start the taps, you get the body positions, and they start studying the skill, and slowly, you just get to your skill safely, rather than, oh, you're 15, it's time to do Kovacs, let's go. Because that's gonna take time. So you gotta start from a very young, you know, like some of the upper body skills on on P bars. You can't start teaching them very late in their career. You have to start early, but you have to start building their body for the skill,
right.
and not like, okay, now we're strong, let's get started, because it will take time. So you
Mhm,
start with those little tabs, and slowly you're telling the kids why you're doing this. A lot of things we do in our program, kids know they're not going to compete this for at least the next 2 years, for sure. And but they do it. It's part of our program. It's part of our schedule. It's in their schedule. It's their assignment. Like, they got to do a heck tap on P bars with the upper arm from a young age. They start from small swings, slowly getting ready to that, and then when we actually start the skill, it doesn't take that long to get them,
mm,
because they're already ready for it. We did all the parts separately.
mm.
So
Yeah, and I'm
I don't know
curious.
if that was the answer of the
No,
question, but
no, that was exactly. But it kind of leads to something that I think I had a lot of questions about, which is kind of navigating ring strength and, with these young bodies, when are we putting in crosses because of the elbows, and when are we adding in some of the stuff for like Maltesers? Like, what are your thoughts on all of that?
I am scared of a cross, to be honest.
Same. Me right now, I'm so scared of a cross.
Cross is something that I'm scared of. And right now, most of my boys are in that age that we slowly have to start. I am so on my toes every time, my assistant coach is spotting them on the crosses and stuff. I always go back and I always ask him, how you feeling? How's the chest? How's this? How's that? I almost like tell them not to do it, but they got to start at some point. I think 15, 16 is a good time to start the crosses.
Mm,
Until that, there's so many little things that you can do just to build those muscles, but not necessarily just go ahead and do a cross. You know what I mean? And those type of skills, it's like it comes one day. It just literally comes one day. You keep building it, then one day you try and it's there. So there is no rush. I'm not rushing on crosses and stuff. I do a lot of body positions for multis. We do
mhm.
a lot of inverts and stuff. The cross is something that we take it very slow. And I don't know if I'm right or wrong, because not I don't have too many guys doing crosses. But again, I'm a little more on the safe side, I guess. I guess that's a little too much in me. Maybe I have to be a little more. I don't know. But
No, I
I,
think
I
you're
go to I go to bed with with a easy heart when
Yeah, I
when my
mean,
boys are healthy.
Tom said the same thing. He said that he has like a famous story with John, and John was on the podcast too, and said this is that like John just wanted to do crosses and Maltesers and everything, and Tom was like, nope, just more strength, more basics, more body shaping. And then like one random day, he was like a freshman or a sophomore. And he's like, hey, try a cross, and John just did a cross one day, like
Hmm.
first time, beautiful. And
That's what happened to one of my former students. So we did a bunch of stuff for crosses, the TheraBands and stuff. And then he was, I think, a year before he went to college. He went to Cal Berkeley, and I just hear this scream from the gym, but like an excitement scream. And I go, what is it, bro? And he's like, I got a cross. I got out of nowhere, and he's yelling out of nowhere, out of nowhere. And in my head, I'm like, out of nowhere. I've been training you this for 10 years, buddy. You can think it's out of nowhere if you want to.
give me my credit.
Yeah, but it's a years of building, and it's not out of nowhere. But yes, it's one of those things that like you just get up there, oh man, I got a cross.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great feeling. I never had that
Yeah.
luxury. I was more in the planche department, but yeah, it's
Yeah, me too. I was more like a Maltese and inverted. My inverted cross came way before my cross. Like I
really.
was having so, oh yeah, I could do perfect inverts, like backup price to invert. Back in the days, you probably will remember you could repeat like two times,
Yep.
like bail
Yep.
to cross, bail to cross. So I did that. I was like pretty high start value, and it was more valuable than a cross as always. And I don't know, like that came way earlier for me than the crosses and the Maltese. So the cross was the last thing.
Huh. That's really curious. I don't know if I've ever heard somebody about that the other way first, but um, yeah, it's really cool. And I think that's so many of the things that you're saying are just like they're really important for people to hear. Like going slow, being patient, developing these things long term, not risking. I think that sometimes unfortunately, we glorify the like just push through it and like be tough, and especially on the male side of the culture about just like some things that happened when I was younger. It was just like pushing through injury to be a tough guy. And like, I think we really have to do a better job of dispelling that myth. Like there's this fine line between working hard and grit and work ethic and being a dummy and pushing through injury. You know what I mean?
Of course, and that is something that the real athlete will make the perfect decision for himself. That's not our job. Like like I said, if the athlete feels it hurts and he kind of feels he can push through, he does that. You don't say you push through. You don't know. That's not your foot that's hurting. It's not your hand that's hurting. You don't know how much pain it is. You don't want to yell or do something for them to get up and just to do it.
Mm,
Like I said, the right athlete will make the perfect decision for himself if he should go for it or not. And again, I'm coming back to sometimes the right coaches need to actually hold him back instead of pushing him. So
yep.
I think
Yeah.
that's the way to go with. Again, I'm talking about elite gymnastics,
Sure.
and if you're working with an elite gymnast, they know their body. They gotta
Hmm.
listen to it. Like somebody holds his back right away. I jump. Are you okay, man? Your back hurts. He's like, no, man, I'm just scratching. But I pay like really big attention on that, because one of my biggest mistakes when I was a gymnast is pushing through pains, because I was always the hero. I never cared. I'm like, yeah, it hurts, but I got this. I got this. Here now I'm on my like mid 30s, and I'm hurting everywhere. And I don't want my boys to be that way. I want them to be healthy men.
Hmm.
My gymnastic career is over, but guess what? I have my back pain all the time. So because I just kept pushing through, I would just put the waist on and just let's go. But that's not right sometimes. That's
Yep.
that's
Yep.
that's not right.
Yeah, another common question that people were asking about is kind of how you navigate, especially with injury stuff like the just cranky wrists and kids that are young and are getting really sore with pommels. Are there things that you guys are doing to try to stay ahead of those things? Are you just like backing off when they get sore? Like, how are you developing all of that like P-bar and pommel work without having any issues? Or do you have issues?
Like I said, we have our conditioning system in place. We have our individual needs. And when I'm saying individual needs, it's literally individual for each gymnast. If I know that one of my kid has a wrist injury, he will not do something for his shoulders. He will spend more time on his wrists. If somebody has elbow problem, he will do a little more on the elbow, the rehabs and stuff.
Mhm.
Somebody has a shoulder, he will pay attention on that. So individual needs is literally individual needs in our gym. And
Yep.
it's not like a program thing and everybody should do this. We have our base things that everybody needs to go through, but
Yep.
and then I give them their time and I actually walk around, And I'm like, you're doing this, but you have wrist problems. I think you should spend a little more time on that.
Yep. Kind of a couple more here before we let you go, because I know you're a busy man. But I
No,
think
that's fine. Don't worry about it.
a lot of frustration comes up with coaches, especially on the guy side when puberty hits and when maybe the guys get really unflexible or they're kind of losing their skills and stuff. Do you have advice to people for navigating those kind of crazy years, like those 12 to 15 years?
Man, the advice is to be with their gymnasts uh, and support them through those years. These are the years that they really need your support because they go through a lot of different things. They go through different, emotional things. They go through everything's changing. Their body's changing. Their mentality is changing. Obviously, they're going to get tighter.
Mm,
So you're just, again, no force, but you got to just keep telling them why we're doing things, why you have to stay flexible. Later on, we got catch-ups coming up. You need to stay flexible. You can't be tight. So just the advice is, I would say, just be cool with the kids. Make sure make sure you're going through that with them,
mm-hmm.
and not they're not supposed to feel alone. It's
Mm,
the 3 years of hell, literally, for these kids, because I've been through that, you've been through that. If you have that extra someone constantly yelling on your ear when you're going through either emotional or physical problems, that's not help. Coaches need to just support those years, and parents need to do the same. That's the thing. A lot of parents freak out. What I do is at the end of the level 6 and 7, I have a mandatory parent meeting, and I'm preparing my parents for this 3 years that you're talking about.
mm,
Every time I'm telling them, do not forget that this 3 and 4 years are coming. And I don't care how good your son is, he's going to go through some things, he's going to go through some tough times. And you guys need to be prepared for that too, because a lot of times the panic happens in their homes too. Mom has a son and he's a future stars champion, and then the next year he can't do anything, so there is a panic. Oh, you can't do
mm,
it, this and that. Then some push comes from home. Then they all need to be very smart and understand what the kids are going through, and they got to be prepared for this, and you got to prepare your gymnasts to this too, so nothing hits them so hard. Like I was able to do this last year, but I can't do half of that this year. Well, if you prepare them, they will understand what they're going through. You will support them, and they'll get out of it just fine, I think. And
mm,
some of them won't. Some of them will decide not to do it because those are the critical years, and some of them actually go through this, get out of it, and they become strong. Some of them just stay at the bottom and they decide to move on. And all that is fine. But the whole time, they need the right support from the coaches and parents,
yep.
because that is tough. That's not an easy thing. And and the extra pressures from the side is not going to help that either.
Yep. Super well said. I think you've nailed that one. That's very
Yeah.
important. I'm glad people heard that, because I think that's a very hard time for parents, like you said, and for coaches to not panic, like you said, and freak
Not
out.
panic. That's the thing. If you prepare them, it will be less of that. I never say you won't have those problems. You're always going to have those problems because you're dealing with different families, different parents, but you will have less of that. They just
Mm,
need to be aware of it. They need to be aware of it, that their kid is going to go through changes, because he's a regular human being, and
mm,
everybody goes through that. It's just the kids that don't do gymnastics or other activities, they don't feel it as much, and gymnasts do. Gymnasts feel every single bone on their body when they're growing. So, and that is something they need to be prepared for. They need to be smart, and again, they need to have patience. Coaches too. Coaches, just because your kid was a future stars national champion last year, it doesn't mean he needs to do that every single year. They need to go through the up and down, and you need to go through that with them and support
mm.
them.
Yep. Yeah, I think another thing that I think is really important, and it sounds like you're saying this really well, but I think that's another reason why teammate support and being a good role model, but also having those people around you. Because I didn't tell my coach all these things sometimes, you know what I mean? Like there's some things I felt comfortable telling him, and some things I didn't want to tell with my dad or my mom, my friends. They kind of helped me through some of that stuff. So when you
Of
build that
course.
environment, I think a lot of that stuff can kind of be spread amongst everybody as
Hmm.
a problem.
Of course. Of course, we
Um,
can't forget those tough times, because if you were a gymnast, I remember how tough it was for me. So every time any of my boys go through that, I know exactly what they're going through, and I gotta be making professional decisions and not be annoying,
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the basics on Monday and the conditioning and stuff like that. How do you kind of approach? Do you have a standard kind of weekly schedule you guys do, or does it change based on the meets?
Well, we this year I'm pushing that Mondays heavily. Before I had random days that we had to do basics on every event. We try to cover all 6 events, but sometimes it's difficult because there's so many kids in the gym. You don't get to do all 6 events in the same day, but you have like for vault, I would do tumble track. I would go over basic tumble track just to get their legs going. High bar, just simply every turn that you know on high bar, front giant pirouette, front giant hop halves, every kind of turn that you know on high bar. I made a routine like that, and they have to go through every half turn. And my level 10s have an endo and stall turn there too. And then
Mhm.
slowly we get closer to competitions. We added dismount. Dismount, they have to compete. They're a competition dismount, so they will do their basic routine, and it takes some time. It's not that easy, but it is basic skills. Like I said, if they get tired and fall on those skills, they're gonna be fine.
Mm.
um, so I build that basic routine, and then we slowly add one skill, and we start with the dismount. Like right now at this time of the year, our basics are finishing with dismounts.
Mm. Yep.
And yeah, Monday we literally do nothing but basics.
I love that, man. That's amazing.
I feel it's helping so much. Uh, we had the worst days in the gym usually Mondays
Yeah.
because they come, they're a little raw, and then you want this new skill that they were so close to on Saturday. Then Monday feels like, oh my God, man, they completely forgot. But it's just Monday, and I find that like it's good to cover almost all events, go through our basics, do good conditioning, get super tired, and get out of the gym. That's a Monday.
Yeah, I think that's really good too, because like I think you raised a really good point that sometimes the mental game is a little off on a Monday. Going through a huge new
Hmm.
skill is maybe a little daunting versus if you get the oil going and the gears on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday you can hit it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you guys, my last couple of questions here. Do you guys have a set number of like routines you're always striving for with like on each event, or is it more just kind of you're doing them till you feel like it's done well?
You're talking about like a competition season?
Yeah, like just before a meet season, because that was a question. The last question somebody had was like getting ready for a meet. Is there a certain number of hits you're trying to get? Is it just like kind of until things feel like it's going well?
We don't do more than 2 sets.
Yep.
Sometimes 3 sets when we're not doing 6 events in that
Yep.
same day. Sometimes when I'm doing like, 3 events or 2 events, we might push that third routine if it's necessary. But
Yep.
two is enough. And again, it's up to the level of a gymnast, with more levels and the higher level you get, obviously routines are becoming more tough, and just pushing them through like so many routines uh, is not okay. It's better
Mm.
to just do maybe some halves, do 1 or 2 routines, and that's enough. I don't know. Injuries come from that last turn when you're pushing usually. Like you gotta be very smart making that. Should I do another one or not? And
Yeah.
and as you know me now, I'm this little scared coach. I'm gonna probably say no.
I think you're
I'm
intelligent.
probably gonna say no to that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
two is our ideal. If I can get 2 routines out of them in a competition season, I'm happy.
Cool. Love it, man. An hour there is tons of wisdom. I thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that on parting advice you would give to people, or I think you spilled it
Um,
all.
I don't know advice. I guess my main thing I'm gonna come down to just work hard, go to the gym just to help the kids, uh, and just be dedicated, love the kids, understand that you're working with kids.
Mm.
Sometimes coaches are putting these words together, trying to, and they make sense, like they have a point there, but you see that little kid looking at the coach's eyes and they don't understand anything. You know, like you have to use the words that they can understand. You have to choose the skills that fits for individual body.
Mm.
Tkachev is not for everybody. And if the kid cannot do, it's just an example. If the kid cannot do a Tkachev, it doesn't mean that's it. Like, don't, there's so many skills in the book you can find for that individual person. And not everybody's same. Treat everybody just the way they are and make sure they love you. Make sure they love the sport. If you can make that happen, you're gonna get the results that you want. But they gotta love it. They gotta love their coaching. They gotta love the gym, and they have to love their sport, of course, with everything in the sport, starting from the stuff they're wearing and everything. If they don't love it, then they're just not gonna do it. And
Yep.
at one point they'll stop doing it because they don't like it.
Yep. Super well said. Paul, thank you so much for your time. I think people are going to be a lot of good wisdom coming out of you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thanks. And like I said, this was my first time doing this interview, or and thank you very much. And yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll catch you
whenever
soon.
you're in California, please give me a ring. Let's hang out. Let's
Absolutely.